You're listening to the Trade Show Insights Podcast, Season 19, Episode 10. I'm your host and exhibit marketing strategist, Marlis Arnold, bringing you tools to improve your exhibit results. On today's episode, brought to you by the Exhibit Marketers Cafe, I'm giving you some behind-the-scenes perspective on my recent visit to IMEX America in Vegas. For years, I've been hearing all the buzz about IMEX, but never had the opportunity to experience it firsthand until this year. Now, IMEX is often referred to as the mega conference and trade show for the events and incentives industries, and it definitely can be overwhelming for a newcomer. I spent the first couple of days feeling breathless, trying not to miss any must-see sessions I had bookmarked or in-booth activities that sounded creative and fun. I was there primarily to capture and record ideas for you, to be the eyes and ears for all my podcast listeners, followers, and clients. Perhaps that added to my feeling of overwhelm. I didn't want you to miss out on anything. Honestly, I felt I was failing in my mission until that last day on the show floor. Like so many shows, that day was much slower, although traffic was still steady in many booths. But that gave me the opportunity to spot things I'd missed the first 2 days, plus have more extended conversations with exhibitors. So now that I've had a window of time to process and reflect on all my photos and notes, I've put together a list of ideas gathered and lessons learned during those 4 days in Vegas, both the good and the bad. Oh, and by the way, if you want to see my photo gallery posts of all the creative exhibits and attractions and giveaways on the show floor, be sure to follow me on LinkedIn and inside the Exhibit Marketers Cafe community, where I'm giving more in-depth breakdowns on what worked well and why. So now on to my aha moments from sessions I attended. Attendee registration is more challenging than ever. According to stats that Marsha Flanagan shared during her presentation on exhibition industry trends, 64% of event organizers start marketing their events 8 months beforehand, but 90% of registrations are coming in during the last month. Now that makes for a tough situation for everyone. The organizers don't have any idea how many attendees to plan for, and exhibitors may get anxious if they hear low attendance numbers leading up to the event. Plus, the cost of everything soars as the event draws near. So while this may be our new normal, there's definitely room for adapting how we prepare for an unknown audience. It's no longer enough to simply design memorable experiences. We must design experiences that prompt attendees to change. Or as speaker Matt Durden put it, you need to shift those experiences from ordinary to memorable to meaningful to transformational. In order to stand out, you've got to personalize your communications and follow-ups in more creative ways than ever before. Mandy Graziano gave examples ranging from a fun wall calendar sent to clients from a hotel sales team to her own quirky out-of-office messages and custom gifts that inspire conversations. Did you realize you've likely been overlooking key audience segments? Nick Borelli and Lisa Schultes shared ways to consider your audience's unmet needs and provide solutions. For example, one event provides STEM workshops for children of attendees. That allows single parents to bring their kids along, eliminating the complication of finding childcare. They also talked about promoting your event as a great place for remote teams to come together for collaboration and networking. As you can imagine, there was no shortage of sessions about AI. the tools, the cautions, and ways to use them. One of the most intriguing examples was from Nick Fagan, who shared the idea of creating a digital twin, which uses a short video of you to then replicate your voice and mannerisms. Then that twin can become a customer support agent or even an AI concierge, welcoming people into your booth. It was super cool, but also a tad creepy too. I'm still not sure what I think of that particular use for AI. Now, you may notice I didn't go into much depth on most of these. That's because I plan to bring a few of these speakers on as guests for future episodes of Trade Show Insights. So be sure to subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. Now, here are a few fails I spotted. Don't host sessions in the hallway, especially if you expect it to be popular. First of all, a standing crowd blocks the path of attendees passing by, which can be a safety issue. But besides that, it's nearly impossible to get anything out of the presentation except for those in the very front. The first session I walked up to was one that I had been looking forward to, but it was practically pointless for me. I could see the slides on the monitor, kind of, but I couldn't hear a thing. The next session, we ended up moving to a ballroom with chairs, a full-size screen, and an appropriate sound system, which made for a far better experience. I felt sorry for the speakers who were assigned to speak in that area. Everyone deserves an actual meeting room and the tools they need to have a successful session. If you're going to host a quiz using a touchscreen in your booth, make it worth the attendees' time and yours. I walked up to a monitor that caught my eye and began working through the questions. At the end, I expected to enter my contact details, but no. It flashed the result briefly on the screen, then went right back to the start page. So not only did I not get to read what my answers meant, but the exhibitor wasn't ever going to know who was taking their quiz. And here's one that I'm including in the fails, but it was somewhat of a toss-up. At the end of certain sessions, there was a team of rap artists who created a recap of the content on the fly. Some were hilarious and even included references to technical difficulties or other impromptu moments during the class. Others really failed to capture any significant points and didn't really add anything to the experience. And finally, a few features around the show that created meaningful moments. The Inspiration Hub featured a variety of stages on the show floor with themes including insights, curious minds, perspectives, people and planet, among others. Plus, there were labeled trails on the floor, like a yellow brick road leading to each theater. Several of my favorite areas were connected to the experience profiles designed by Storycraft Lab. Before IMEX, attendees could take a quiz online to discover their experience profile. I'm a creator and explorer. Then there were a number of special features and networking events around the show related to the various types. The Wheel of Belonging allowed attendees to create a visual path of how you define feeling like you belong at an event. The new Project Resilient Space was a welcome oasis off the show floor where attendees could rest and recharge, featuring comfy seating, plants, and soothing music. I really appreciated having that space on day 2, and I wasn't alone. I even saw a few people catching a short nap. While not all of these are appropriate for every audience, they certainly provide a wealth of discussion topics for you and your team, no matter whether you're an event organizer or an exhibitor. If you enjoyed today's episode and would like more, you can subscribe to the Trade Show Insights podcast and automatically receive future episodes on your chosen device. Simply search for Trade Show Insights in Apple, Spotify, or virtually anywhere else that podcasts are found, then click the subscribe button. Trade Show Insights is protected by the Creative Commons copyright license. You may feel free to share this recording with colleagues or embed it on your own blog as long as it's shared in its entirety and is not used for commercial purposes. To learn more, please see the link in the sidebar of the show notes at tradeshowinsights.com. Well, that's it for this episode of Trade Show Insights. Be sure to check out our show notes and archives at tradeshowinsights.com. You can also connect with me using the social media links or the contact page on the site. I'm Marlis Arnold. Thanks for listening, and be sure to join us next time for more tools to improve your exhibit results.